Imagine receiving a phone call from the most powerful woman in Hollywood. The voice on the other end of the line belongs to a legendary studio executive. Perhaps Amy Pascal, the former chairperson of Sony Pictures, or Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm. She knows your name, she knows your specific portfolio, and she is offering you the gig of a lifetime. A multi-million-dollar blockbuster production is quietly kicking off, and she wants you to lead a key creative department. The career-defining opportunity is real, the prestige is undeniable. But there is one bizarre catch. You need to board a flight to Jakarta, Indonesia, tonight. For nearly a decade, hundreds of elite Hollywood freelancers ranging from celebrity makeup artists and veteran stunt coordinators to independent photographers and set designers fell for this exact, meticulously crafted pitch. They arrived in the bustling, chaotic streets of Jakarta, chasing the ultimate breakthrough in their professional lives, only to find themselves systematically trapped in a surreal, twisting, psychological nightmare. They were completely isolated in a foreign country. Their hard-earned financial resources were slowly and methodically drained, and they were forced to pay thousands of dollars in cash to mysterious local drivers and fixers. Astonishingly, all of this occurred under the strict, absolute telephonic commands of a phantom operating in the deep shadows. The execution of these scams was virtually flawless. The introductory emails looked perfectly official, utilizing spoofed corporate domains that bypass standard security filters. The non-disclosure agreements looked legally binding, and the psychological leverage exerted on the victims was absolute. In the cutthroat, hyper-competitive ecosystem of Hollywood, reputation is the ultimate currency. If you refuse a direct, urgent order from a billionaire producer or a studio titan, your career can be destroyed with a single phone call. The perpetrator knew this industry-wide anxiety inside and out, so the victims paid. They handed over their savings day after day, waiting patiently in isolated hotel rooms for a movie set and a production crew that never actually existed. But when the FBI, working alongside international intelligence agencies, finally tracked down this invisible mastermind after an exhausting years-long global manhunt, they uncovered a jaw-dropping plot twist that shocked the entire global entertainment industry. The brilliant, terrifyingly convincing queen of deception was not a woman at all. Welcome to Fraudiology. Today we step into the darkness to dissect the complex anatomy, the twisted motives, and the devastating psychological warfare of the Hollywood con queen. To truly understand how this ghost managed to operate for so long without ever being seen, we must closely examine the terrifying psychological leverage used to dominate and control these high-profile victims. The mastermind did not just casually mimic female voices. He treated each target like an academic research project. Before placing a single call, he spent weeks studying the target's professional backgrounds, their vulnerabilities, and their career aspirations. Simultaneously, he memorized every available interview, corporate press release, and tiny personal habit of the female titans he portrayed. When an unsuspecting freelancer answered the phone, they weren't just hearing a basic impression. They were interacting with a flawless, living digital double that knew the intricate politics of major movie studios. However, voice imitation was merely the bait to hook the prey. The actual trap was built upon two of the most deeply rooted forces in human psychology: unconditional obedience to perceived authority and the intense fear of missing out. In Hollywood, the hierarchy is brutal and absolute. Production assistants, technicians, and freelancers survive entirely on their network and compliance. Disobeying and demanding requests from a studio head does not just mean losing a temporary contract. It represents permanent career suicide. The con queen weaponized this professional terror with masterclass precision. By mimicking the volatile, demanding, and high-pressure personalities of real Hollywood executives, the scammer manufactured a state of extreme psychological compliance. Victims were kept in a perpetual loop of anxiety and adrenaline, feeling they had absolutely no choice but to obey every irrational demand. Furthermore, the specific choice of location was a calculated, highly tactical masterpiece. By luring these Western professionals thousands of miles away to Jakarta, Indonesia, The scammer effectively and instantly severed them from their immediate support networks, families and legal protections. Dropped into a dense foreign metropolis where they did not speak the language or understand the local customs. The victims became completely and utterly dependent on the mysterious local drivers, translators, and fixers, provided directly by the voice of the so-called producer. This severe geographic disorientation dramatically amplified their psychological vulnerability. Isolated in hotel rooms bombarded by constant phone calls and texts, demanding urgent cash payments for local permits or transportation fees, the victims' critical thinking skills eroded, leaving them entirely defenseless against a prolonged systematic financial shakedown. As the months slowly turned into years, this vast, invisible web of global deception finally began to unravel under the sheer weight of its own ambition. What had started as isolated, whispered rumors within tight-knit Hollywood circles soon exploded into a massive industry crisis. A growing list of broken victims, including a photographer named Ben, who lost his entire life savings, and prominent creative directors who suffered severe emotional breakdowns, finally chose to break their silence and share their stories. Realizing that a single unidentified phantom was systematically bleeding the American entertainment industry, DRY, the FBI's transnational organized crime unit operating in tandem with the elite corporate investigation firm, K2 Intelligence officially stepped into the shadows to launch one of the most complex, frustrating manhunts in modern history. Hunting this digital ghost, however, proved to be an absolute logistical and operational nightmare for federal agents. The scammer possessed an extraordinary understanding of operational security. He never utilized the same burner phone or prepaid SIM card twice, constantly routed his digital communication through encrypted virtual private networks, and relied heavily on secure messaging applications to stay multiple steps ahead of international law enforcement. Crucially, the financial trail went cold almost immediately upon reaching Southeast Asia. The victims were never instructed to wire funds to traceable centralized bank accounts. Instead, they were ordered to withdraw thousands of dollars in physical currency and hand over sealed envelopes of cash to local Indonesian drivers. These drivers, who were completely oblivious to the crime and merely thought they were working for a wealthy foreign client, then unwittingly funneled the funds through a highly complex, fragmented network of local money mules, leaving international investigators with nothing but a frustrating maze of dead ends. But every criminal, no matter how meticulous, calculating, or brilliant, eventually leaves a permanent digital fingerprint behind. The definitive breakthrough in the investigation arrived when advanced cyber forensics experts and elite forensic linguists began aggressively dissecting the digital DNA of the entire scam. They discovered that while the deceptive phone calls seemingly originated from a chaotic array of international roaming signals spanning multiple continents, the underlying internet protocol addresses and hidden metadata whispered a completely different narrative. Slowly, through months of painstaking data analysis, the incredibly complex web of voice modulations, spoofed emails, and international shell accounts began pointing decisively away from the dense jungles of Southeast Asia. The digital breadcrumbs crossed the vast Atlantic Ocean, bypassed Hollywood entirely, and locked straight onto a quiet, unsuspecting residential neighborhood located deep within the United Kingdom. This precise digital trail led international investigators straight to the heart of London, where in November 2020, the grand multi-year illusion finally shattered into pieces. In a dramatic, highly coordinated raid that stunned the global media, British authorities cornered the elusive mastermind, executing a provisional arrest warrant issued directly by the United States Department of Justice. When the steel handcuffs finally snapped shut, the Hollywood elite and the global public expected to see a sophisticated, highly calculated female con artist step out of the shadows. Instead, they found themselves staring in absolute disbelief at Hargobind Tahilramani, a 41-year-old Indonesian man and former internet food blogger who had been living a remarkably quiet, mundane life in a modest rented apartment. Unmasking this notorious queen, exposed a dark psychological profile that was as deeply fascinating as it was profoundly disturbing to forensic experts. Criminal psychologists quickly revealed that while Tahilramani had managed to successfully swindle well over $1 million from his victims, financial greed was never his primary motivation. He was formally diagnosed as a malignant narcissist, a psychological predator who suffered from a deep-seated, insatiable obsession with total control and domination. For the entirety of his life, Tahilramani had been a social outcast rejected by his peers and starved for attention. But inside the dark, insulated walls of his London apartment, armed with nothing but a cheap burner phone and a twisted, brilliant imagination, he transformed himself into an absolute ruler. He derived an almost addictive, godlike satisfaction from watching Hollywood's wealthiest, most successful power players dance like helpless puppets to the sound of his modulated voice. For the Hollywood con queen, the ultimate currency was never money. It was pure, unadulterated, intoxicating power over human minds. With his high-profile arrest, the truly terrifying and sadistic extent of his psychological warfare finally came to light. Tahilramani did not merely swindle his victims out of their money. He actively, intentionally tormented them for his own personal amusement. If a target showed even the slightest sign of hesitation or skepticism, he would instantly unleash a torrent of savage verbal abuse, perfectly mimicking a furious, unhinged studio executive to completely break their psychological spirit and enforce submission. He spent countless hours practicing microscopic vocal inflections, studying the precise emotional vulnerabilities of his prey, and custom-tailoring his manipulation tactics to exploit each victim's specific professional desperation. He did not just steal their financial savings. He conquered their minds, shattered their self-confidence, and left a horrific trail of ruined careers, bankruptcies, and deep, permanent emotional trauma in his wake. Ultimately, the final curtain has officially fallen on this master manipulator's long and terrifying reign of terror. Following his high-profile arrest in London, a prolonged, intensely contested legal battle concluded with his formal extradition to the United States, where he was finally forced to stand before a federal court and answer for his devastating campaign of psychological warfare. Today, Hargobind Tahilramani sits silently behind bars, serving out a lengthy, restrictive federal prison sentence, a stark, undeniable reminder that even the most invisible digital phantoms cannot run from the scales of justice forever. The tragic, haunting legacy of the Hollywood con queen, however, leaves the global creative community with a profound, enduring lesson about the terrifying mechanics of dark psychology. This extraordinary case stands as absolute proof that our biggest dreams, our deepest professional passions, and our burning desires for validation and success are often the exact entry points that predatory manipulators use to breach our psychological defenses. Tahilramani did not successfully exploit these Hollywood professionals because they were weak, unintelligent, or gullible. He exploited them because they were deeply hungry for an opportunity, brilliantly turning their noble ambition into their ultimate fatal vulnerability. As we officially close this dark case file, remember that your true protection in an increasingly deceptive digital world begins with radical awareness and a deep understanding of the hidden mechanisms of human manipulation. If you want to continue exploring the dark, fascinating corners of criminal psychology and dissect the world's most brilliant, dangerous deception tactics alongside us, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Thank you for watching, and welcome to the inner circle of fraudiology. Until next time, stay vigilant, protect your mind, and never let the blinding light of your dreams prevent you from seeing the cold reality right in front of you.